close.
Wait, so I don't even. So like when you said identity is a cop out, I've never heard anybody ever say that before. Maybe I should just ignore it.
Okay, the reason I say it's a cop out, I'm going to explain it one more time, is because it's not actually explaining anything.
What further explanation can one give?
Mechanism.
Okay, but look, at bottom basic level, right? You're going to say consciousness just is. It's irreducible. You're going to have to give an identity claim to it, right? So why is that different than what I'm doing here? At least I can
identity claim to it.
At least I can give you embryology and then like the functions of the brains, and we can see when it's on or off, right?
I don't know what you mean by that. I mean,
look, it seems like there's more mechanistic stuff going on when you do neuroscience than it is when you say mind is irreducible. But either way, right, it's going to be
there's a lot more. You have to explain the stars, the ground.
Can I tell you what an explanation would look like? So we could take the brittleness of glass as an example, and there is a very good explanation, physicalist explanation of how it emerges. So if we want to start from the quantum fields, we could say that every particle, fundamental particle, has a corresponding field, and when those fields excite, they give rise to the up quark, the down quark, and the electron. And when the up quark, down quark, and the electron combine, they create what we call the atom. And then when those atoms come together in the protons and neutrons, they combine into what we call the atoms. And
but that just sounds like neuroscience, man.
Yeah,
that's
but
what neuroscientists are doing.
let him finish.
What an explanation would look like. So if you have 14 protons and 8 protons, you get the silicon and the oxygen atoms. Okay, those two. If they combine and they form
I get it, man.
bonds, 4 covalent bonds forming a tetrahedral.
Obviously, I understand what you're saying there, but how is that different than like?
But wait,
finish.
You're just like giving an example that everyone understands.
He's explaining the difference between strong emergence, which is what consciousness would be, and weak emergence. Go ahead, Cosmo.
And when those
physicalists don't hold a strong emergence.
Let him finish.
When those tetrahedral arrangements combine into amorphous structure, which means that beyond a few nanometers, their structure becomes they become random. They form these very weak bonds that are very brittle, and they will break under stress because they don't have any. They cannot bend underneath layers, so they have to become brittle. So that's how brittleness of glass emerges from the quantum field all the way up to the brittleness of glass. That's what we're looking for when we say that we want an explanation.
I understand your examples. I understand the example. How is that different than the story that's given?
An explanation for what?
Okay, what's the story then? What's the story?
How is that different than the story that's given during they're developing, or the evolutionary story, or neuroscience?
You tell me what the story is, and I'll tell you how it's different.
Come on, dude. Like, conception happens, the neural tube.
Forget about life, the creation of life. Just
the
talk
neural
about
tube
consciousness.
folds, and then you get.
You have to say.
Then you get the notochord, right? And then you get the brain develops, and then the brain functions in such a way that there's like the spinal fluid pathway.
There it is. That's not an explanation, brother.
Wait. Okay, so
such a way is not an explanation.
Okay, so now you're going back.
Crazy. You're using physicalism as of the gas.
Dude. Now you're going and saying,
it's like me saying magic.
Such a way.
Dude, why am I being interrupted?
Focus, magic.
Let him finish.
Yeah, look. Now you're just saying, look. Your objection is that we don't have a completed neuroscience. That's all you're saying.
No, man, in principle.
What do you mean in principle? Look, if there's an identity,
qualities cannot be reduced to
mind is a brain or something like a brain. Eventually, at some point, when the brain obtains, there is a mind because
here's a problem.
You're just calling it magic
in your science. You are uncertain in your science, whereas a science starting with consciousness is certain in all its steps. So you're making these broad claims.
I'm not saying anything like that, dude.
Behind with your reasons.
I think what they are saying is like, look, because you can't give a complete neuroscience, like you can't pinpoint or solve the Sorites paradox when there is.
You're not even close.
Then you're not giving an explanation. But when I ask you what the explanation for mind is on your view, you say it's irreducible, which is just an identity.
That's where you start with.
In principle, what would an explanation do you think would look like?
I just told you. Look, we have stories about how embryology works. We have stories about how the brain works.
Not an explanation.
Right?
No,
that theory may or may not encapsulate what it means to be conscious. I don't see the problem.
Listen, you don't have to give us the details. We're just asking you, like even in principle.
That's
even
what Host asked for.
In a thought experiment.
I'm asking for details. You have to be absolutely certain,
wouldn't ask for that.
Baseless.
That's crazy. That's a crazy thing to say. So look, now a functionalist would say that, look, there's going to be consciousness when there's some type of function obtains. The identity theorist is just going to say when there's some state, right? I take kind of a mixed view, but I just don't see the problem here. Like there's no explanation. It's like asking, like, why
we
is it
just
that...
explained this to you. We're just going in circles now. How do you not see the problem?
You said that identity is a cop-out.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a direct question. Do you see the difference between the example that Cosmic gave and the example of if it were true that consciousness is an emergent property?
No, I don't. That's my point.
Do you see the difference?
I don't.
You don't see the difference.
Look, let's say, like, talk about like the dipoles that like form like the colligative properties of water, right? You're going to give a story from like quantum fields to virtual particles, blah, 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 right? Why can't you just swap out like the zygote, right, to bring in mind, right, being the colligative properties of water?
They're inherently different.
But that's just the question.
Experience, like quantities or what we call matter, does not have any conscious property ascribed to them whatsoever.
It's an analogy. Come on, dude. We're talking about explanations.
You can't do that because it doesn't make logical sense with all.
We're just talking about explanations. We're not talking about like what's being explained. I'm just saying, like, how is this explanation different than that one?
One thing I will say, man, nobody is getting out a full sentence, so it's pretty obvious nobody can hear any.
Yeah, and I mean, I gotta say, Waldo, you're kind of being a little dishonest here because you already granted that there's at least an epistemic gap or a semantic gap, and then you're saying in the next breath that you don't understand the difference between weak emergence and if consciousness were an emergent property of the brain. But you already granted that there's at least an epistemic gap there.
I'm
so
confused
you're being
how
a bit
tracks anything, man. I'm not. Can you try to repeat that? I don't understand what you're even trying to say.
So I asked you if you saw the difference between the example Cosmic game of the
Yeah, I think they're like
game,
equivalent. Yeah.
right? And you said no. But earlier you already granted that there is an epistemic gap.
Yeah. How is that relevant? Uh-huh.
Right. So what we're pointing out is that gap is more than epistemic.
You haven't shown that. Look, when he gave an example of the explanation, we're talking about what explanations would look like, and I don't see the difference between the embryologic and the neuroscientific explanations with his about of atoms or something like that. Now you're saying something about like there being.
So you're saying we have.
I just don't see how that like.
You're saying we have a full picture from
I'm not saying we do.
atoms to subjective experience. That's what you're saying. That's what you're going to go with.
Am I saying that we have? I'm sorry, I missed the first part.
Do we have a full explanation from atoms to subjective experience?
No, I said no. My whole point is
no. But is it theoretically possible for you?
That's the difference. We do have a full explanation from atoms to the brittleness.
Okay, and we have full explanations of how seesaws are built, and not full explanations of how the universe works. Who cares?
You're just using physicalism of gaps.
Minds are the most complicated things.
There are many things. Listen, the thing is this. Let me just say something.
Because we're just talking about like what the explanation would look like, right? Not like whether or not we have all the details. And why would that be relevant?
Let me just tell you this, Ivo. Just listen. There are many things that we do not have an answer for right now in science, and no one claiming that those problems will not be solved in principle. We're just saying we don't have the relevant information right now, but we can imagine what an answer would look like. Like, for example, what is dark matter? What is dark energy? It's a physicalist problem, and we can think in principle what an answer would look like, but it's not the same when it comes to consciousness, because consciousness is ontologically different. It's about experience. It's not about numbers or abstractions.
Yeah, okay, I see. I know what you're saying, man. But the whole problem here is that you're forgetting that there's an epistemic gap. So it's not like you can know from the third person when consciousness flares up, right? The whole point is that consciousness, the intention, is a first-person experience. So no wonder it's different than when we study like water molecules and colligative properties.
Yeah, because everything else is from a third-person point of view.
Yeah, that would be fine if we had a mechanistic explanation, but we don't.
Well, look, if physicalism is true, we do have one, and I gave it.
No, you don't.
It's not 100%.
We're just going to go round and round. I mean,
look, here's the question. Why would it matter for the physicalist, the philosopher, if we have a fully true neuroscientific explanation? Especially given that mind is the most complicated object in the world. Why would it matter?
If we had a mechanistic explanation, it wouldn't require philosophy at all.
Look, what I was trying to say earlier is that the hard problem is explained by the epistemic gap. No wonder you can't rule in when mind occurs.
No, it's not. Mind explanation is mechanism, bro. No, it's not.
Look, no wonder we can't rule in mind, because mind is a first-person thing. Or at least the intention is, right? That's why it's different when you're talking about water molecules doing what they do. That's all third person.
You would not say that I explain the clock if I just say the hands move at the same time the gears do. You would want me to point out the pin that connects them.
Okay, yeah, I agree that the neuroscientific explanation is not complete.
I explain the clock.
Oh, come on, dude. Look, we're talking about in principle whether it could be explained.
Nah, man, you're not
Obviously, the neuroscientist doesn't have a complete explanation, right? Obviously. But my question to you, which you didn't answer, is why would it matter?
Listen,
it matters because at the end of the day,
that's the problem when it comes to the heart problem of consciousness. We don't even know what an answer would look like. Like, for example, let's say scientists find out that when the brain turns into like 45 hertz of output, that's when consciousness happens, and we can demonstrate it in every living thing, for example. That would not be an explanation of how it gives rise to consciousness. It would just explain that when we have this phenomenon of 45 hertz, we have consciousness. But it's not an explanation because science, in principle, cannot answer qualia, subjective.
Okay, so I already explained this.
Do I explain rocket science by watching a rocket?
It's a third person thing. Can I respond to what he said? Instead of like going on like a derail. Sorry. Look, let me try to explain a different way. The reason why we can't know exactly when consciousness obtains is because the consciousness, the intention, is first person. So, but what explains it is going to be that consciousness just is the 45 hertz, right?
Yeah, we just don't.
No, yeah, that's fine.
Going around in circles.
But look, like here's the same problem on idealism, because you agree that what's going on with the rock is different than what's going on in your mind, even though it's all the same substance. Right, the rock isn't this like depersonalized thing, right? But you are a depersonalized thing. So like, I could just ask for the same explanation. When is it?
I can give you an explanation.
Depersonalization happens. When does the personalization happen such that you have a mind that's different than what the rock thing is?
No, I would just say the rock doesn't have a true boundary, but we do.
No, we can in principle answer that question. We can in principle answer that question.
When is the boundary?
Wait, what's the question clearly?
Yeah, here's the question. Look, they're trying to say there's some kind of problem for physicalism because you can never rule in like when the brain has consciousness.
No, I was tracking. What's the question?
Yeah. And then the question back to the idealists is like, okay, when can you do the same on idealism? Because they don't think rocks...
No, the rock.
Yeah, they think rocks don't have the same type of first-person Cartesian experience. So when does that obtain on their view? When does it go away?
When does what come away? Yeah. What?
The first-person or Cartesian experience.
It never goes away. I don't understand what the question
hold on. Let us answer because we might have different viewpoints than
maybe.
So we would say life is the experiential boundary. I mean,
well, how do you know that?
It seems like metabolism is where we find this.
Okay, how do you know that? How could you know?
Yeah, we cannot know, but
okay, great. It's the same objection you gave to me.
Wait, can I show my solution?
The exact same objection.
No. What are you talking? We're not talking about explaining how the process of it.
Yeah, here's more succinctly. What is it about metabolism that makes the personalization, the mind, the first-person experience obtain?
Yeah, but if everything exists in consciousness, there is no problem to explain how some things could have internal conscious experiences.
But you're saying that like rocks are not conscious in the same way that we are. Right?
No, but it doesn't imply that
it's explainable. In principle, it's still explainable.
And it doesn't
so look, you're just saying there's this boundary that's crossed when metabolism happens. You can never confirm it. How is that different than what I'm saying on physicalism?
Listen, everything exists in consciousness. That doesn't imply that everything in consciousness must be conscious itself.
That's my point. That's my point. So when do things become conscious within consciousness? That's my question.
You can't know anything is conscious.
You don't become conscious within consciousness.
Okay, so is there a difference? Right, let's be clear. Is there a difference between your mind, your Cartesian experience, and the book on the table? Is there a difference between them?
If there is a difference, it's illusory.
Okay, so is the book on the table having thoughts? Are they like thinking about like
no, it's what thoughts look like.
I'm sorry?
It's what thoughts look like from the outside across an experiential boundary.
Okay, great. So like, when does a thing like a book on the table become like you and I?
It doesn't. What do you mean? When does it become?
Well, okay. Well, what is the difference then?
It's a product of consciousness. It's not conscious. The conscious of itself. You know,
a product of consciousness.
What's the difference? To the dream analogy.
You're saying they're different.
The difference of what?
They're not different. They're not different.
Okay, they're not different. Okay. I thought you were saying they were different the whole time. So the book on the table is having a
Ontologically,
first
no.
person experience.
What?
So the book on the table is having a created cheese experience.
No.
Okay, so like, what is different about that, such that it's not like us?
So it seems like you can't like
disassociated
Idealistic science can't explain that perfectly.
It's not a disassociated
That's my
alter.
point. I don't expect an idealist to. So why would they expect a physicalist?
I told you the answer. It doesn't have a disassociated alter. The book.
I know.
Because you
What
have
is it
to
in the world
justify.
under
Let me
idealism?
answer your question. Why would we expect a physicalist to answer that question? Is because you create a category and from first principles. We would say that you created a category and now you need to justify it. If you cannot explain consciousness through the category you created that you said explains everything, then you haven't explained everything.
No, I think it does explain it. You're saying it doesn't, right? We have the category of some things are mine, some things are not, but it's all physical. You have categories of some things are personalized, some things are depersonalized, some things are not depersonalized. I'm asking for the boundary between the two on your view, while you asked for the boundary on mine. Let's be clear. I don't think that I need to solve the Sorites paradox.
You have to give a
I don't
mechanism.
think I have to solve the Sorites paradox or give you a science that can answer it with certainty. But I'm wondering why you don't.
For us, in our worldview, there isn't a hard problem of consciousness.
Okay,
It just
but
doesn't
there is
exist.
a hard problem. It's why are you depersonalized and the book isn't?
He's saying decombination problem. Like
No, it's not the combination. I mean,
we can
it's kind of
show
like
it.
that.
We can show a process empirically called
Yeah.
dissociation.
So can a neuroscientist. We just don't know the exact moment consciousness obtains, just like you can now.
It's different, right? You're
How is it
going from
different?
matter to mind. We're going from mind to mind.
No, that begs the question. We're going from physicalist.
In principle, we
Exactly.
can. Still
No,
explain.
dude, you're going from mind-based mind to depersonal, not depersonalized to depersonalized.
Just
I'm
mind
going
to
from
mind.
base physical
That's mine.
from
It's not an
mind to mind. That's the
ontologically
problem.
new category. It's not an ontologically new
Okay, that just
category.
begs the question against my view. It's not an ontological new category on mine.
Yeah, but we
Yeah,
don't
but-
grant that.
Because you
I know
can't
you're,
answer
you
the
don't,
hard problem
it
of
doesn't matter, but
consciousness.
you can't give an internal critique of my view when it's just something that's external.
Yes, I can, because you
You're supposed to
cannot
give me reasons why
answer.
physicalism is false, and
Momentation
everything you
comes
said
about.
so far, I can just turn around and like say back to you. And furthermore,
No.
idealism just seems extremely absurd.
But listen, in your worldview, you cannot explain mentation.
That just
You cannot do
again, that just okay. Look, let me be clear. My explanation is the story we talk about in neuroscience. It's not an exact, it's not an epistemic certain story, but it is a story that is the explanation. At some point, there's an identity state such that consciousness obtains. Now, my rebuttal back to you is just a parody. Look, you have depersonalized and not depersonalized objects. I asked you for the story when it goes from not depersonalized to depersonalized. You
Yeah, it's
can't tell me.
disassociation.
I'm sorry, disassociation. You can't tell me when that happens, right?
Yeah, it appears to happen at metabolism.
Biogenesis.
Okay, great. And it appears to happen when, a 16-week fetus occurs. What's ever going on in the brain there? Why can't I just say that?
Because you have the burden of showing mechanistically.
Okay, we did. It's embryology.
No, that's not.
It's like you're just
that's
like your
not
story
showing
is-
subject- That's
is
not a
biochemistry,
mechanistic.
right?
Can I finish? That's not a mechanistic explanation of
Okay, what's
consciousness.
your mechanistic explanation? It's biochemistry, right?
Disassociation.
Okay, but what does that mean?
Yeah, how does how does a person disassociate into alters in the ID? It's the same process.
Okay, it's the same process. Okay, so how does my parody objection not go through, but yours does?
Because we have an empirical explanation of this in the.
So do I. You stop at metabolism.
No,
I stop
you
at
don't.
the brain at 16 weeks.
You don't. You don't have an empirical explanation.
Not an explanation, bro.
Why is it not an explanation? Why is the metabolism?
Do I explain the rocket by watching the rocket?
Yeah.
I have a question for Alex.
Okay.
Oh no.
We got to move on because we're just going in circles. What's up, Poison?
Hey, so what is this emergence thing? Are you trying to explain the emergence of consciousness in another object?
Yeah, I'm asking them, like, on their view, what's the mechanism where they become depersonalized such that they have a first-person
No,
experience?
yeah, I heard everything.
Yeah.
I'm asking him to explain.
I'm not trying to explain emergence. I don't believe in emergence at all.
Okay, I was wondering what he was asking you, what the problem was.
I don't think there is a problem. I'm just trying
He's
to get
saying,
a parody response.
he's saying
back
he
to them.
explains consciousness by identifying the brain states. I'm asking you if I explain rocket science by looking at a rocket, by watching a rocket fly.
Well, I explained the identity of a rocket
ridiculous.
by examining a rocket.
Ridiculous.
And then, I didn't realize what you're saying. I was trying to be like glib. Look, I would say that we know what a rocket is by looking at the identity of it, what it is, or then we could also explain it by the function. It just depends on if your identity.
Yeah, so you can say you know what it is, but that doesn't mean that you explained it. And I don't grant that you know what it is just by looking at a rocket. I don't know what a rocket is. I can watch what a rocket does by looking at it. I can't know what it is, bro.
Well, I don't understand that what you mean by explanation, because I gave you the exact same type of explanation that you did when you said.
No, you said the brain states are the subjective experience.
Yeah, and you said that mind, depersonalized mind.
I'm saying what you're doing is looking at the rocket and saying that you are explaining rocket science.
Right, and then when you look at metabolism, you've explained the depersonalization, right?
Wait, hold on.
How's it different?
I think we need to take a step back because
It's depersonalization.
that's kind of how they created rocket science through the observation of
everything.
I'm not sure understanding what
physical
you're saying.
phenomenon.
Sorry, go ahead, Thought. What are you saying?
Well, I was just saying, I heard that not to just be like a prickler in the middle of the yard, but like I have a little bit of a problem hearing that observation isn't sufficient enough to help with the explanation of a phenomenon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it helps, but I cannot explain rocket science just by watching a rocket. It's not.
Let me just finish. There are some things you can observe and figure out through observation, and there are other things that you have to essentially dissect for you to be able to do that. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, we have to, and like, I think this is why consciousness is such a big thing, right? We're talking about this, and it is the job of consciousness to observe. And this is how we obtain information, right? To reutilize and put in any system, or to better understand, recreate, or edit and mess with. You know what I mean? This is where we got our series of
what Evil was saying there at the end.
No, I'm understanding. I interjected because I had a problem with this because we obviously are also had a big wall right here in the conversation.
Yeah, I don't want to lose the thread.
I get that. I'm almost done. But on the other standpoint, right? Just observation, is not enough for an explanation or a total uncovering of the function of something. Here's an example, right? Society. You ask any person, what is the function of society, right? Obviously, answers will vary, right? But at the end of the day, it takes years of observations, right? And replications to truly understand society. This is where literature came from. This is where philosophy came from. You know what I mean?
The
problem is physicalists want to say that everything in the universe is physical. They want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to say that a mechanistic explanation is needed for everything in the universe, including rocket science, except for consciousness. That's the one exception.
But you haven't told me how my mechanism is different than yours.
You haven't explained anything, bro. It's ridiculous. It's a cop-out.
You said that, but I haven't seen how your metabolism explanation is different than my, embryology one.
But it's not explaining the same phenomena. It's like listen, we are pointing to a problem in physicalism, and you're saying, yeah, you also have another problem. Yeah, it is another problem. We can discuss that, but it's like when Christians and Muslims they argue and they say, "Oh, you have that."
Well, I think it's the same problem.
Yeah, you do too.
Here's an analogy.
The problem is that the argument is not existing on the same table.
I want Evil to answer.
Yeah, I think it's the same problem. So,
but what
non-minded physical stuff is analogous to non-dissociated stuff.
Yeah, but Thought, you're derailing the conversation.
Hold on, Thought. Let him respond.
Yeah, you're derailing the conversation. Let Evil.
Yeah, so I think you have the same problem. Look, here's the analogy. Look, non-minded physical stuff is analogous to non-dissociated mental stuff. Minded physical stuff is analogous to disassociated mental stuff.
No, it's not.
What's the difference?
We're talking about mental to mental. You're talking about physical to mental.
Okay, again, no, you're just begging the question because on my view, it's all physical at base. On your view, it's all different.
Yeah, but that's the whole problem. That's the whole problem.
Mentalism.
Exactly. That's the whole problem.
You have the hard problem of disassociation. I don't get it.
Yeah,
It's not a hard problem.
Fine. No, Alex,
No, the
fine.
hard problem,
Let's have that
the hard problem refers to how you get mind from matter.
How you get disassociation.
Alex,
Let me finish, bro. Let me finish. The hard problem does not refer to how you get mind from mind. It's
Okay, but
totally-
I'm giving it an out. I mean, obviously, that's not what people mean when they say the hard problem. I'm saying it's the same problem. It's the same like thrust, right? Look, how do you get disassociation
That's
from not
exactly what the hard problem means. What do you mean?
Okay, look,
What's
I'm not
this
saying that.
dissociation?
I'm not saying that the problem is disassociation from not disassociation. I'm saying it's the exact same problem in principle. Right?
No, it's
How is it different? How is non-dissociation to dissociation different from non-mind to mind?
Mental to mental, as opposed from mind or matter to mental.
I don't get it. It's all physical on my view. It's all mental in your view.
Yeah,
right?
I don't.
We're talking about different types of mental.
I don't grant because qualities cannot be reduced to quantities. This proves
that just begs the question against my view. We're trying we're doing
evil. What you're referring to is a different type of problem. It is a problem in idealism. Yes, I agree. It's fun. We need to answer that, but it's a different type of problem. It's a problem of, as Alex says, mental to mental. How do we
Mine's a problem of physical to physical.
Disassociation? How come they are like disassociated alters? Yeah, it is a problem. We need to try to answer this.
Mine's a problem of physical to physical, right?
No, because if it was physical to physical, it wouldn't be a problem. There would be no problem. It would be easily explainable.
I'm really confused though, because now you're just begging the question against
everything else that's physical to physical is easily explainable.
Yeah, because there's an epistemic gap. Right?
Evil. Let us ask you, what is the hard problem? Can you answer this? What is the hard problem of consciousness? Go ahead.
Yeah, the hard problem of consciousness is just to explain why it is that this physical state is conscious and another one's not, something like that. Right? This is like the exact same. Now look, here's the hard problem of idealism. The hard problem of idealism is explaining why it is the case that this thing is disassociated.
Listen, you just redefined the hard problem of consciousness.
That's right. I'm making a hard problem for idealism. Mm-hmm.
No, listen. You just redefined the hard problem of consciousness. The hard problem of consciousness is how come something like matter that doesn't have any property of internal experience or subjectivity give rise to that?
That's what I said, I thought.
No, you said from physical to physical. That's what you said.
No. That was way before. Then you asked me the question. I said, like, what is it that explains why this material thing is conscious and the other one's not? Okay, now my question to idealism is what explains why this thing is disassociated and that's not.
What is disassociated?
Let's ask you again. What is the hard problem of consciousness?
It's not the same kind of problem.
How is it different? Okay, on my view, on base level, it's all matter. It's all physical. On your view, it's all mind. It's all mind. Mm-hmm. There's this other further thing, a subcategory of physical called not mental and then mental, which is a semantic gap, right? And then on your view, there's this other subtype of not dissociated and dissociated. What's the difference?
It's not a semantic gap. That's the difference.
Okay, obviously there is a semantic gap because when you say, look, my mind, you're talking about your first person experience, but you don't say mind in the same way when you talk about a book on the table. It's a different type of material.
Illusory. The personal mind is an illusion.
Yeah, but it's a different type of mental existence. That's the same thing as what the physical is.
No, it's not. It's an illusion.
Hi there. Can I ask something? I was thinking about if anyone saw Starling Murmuration. They act like one consciousness, one being, one single mind. I mean, they are simply moving in sync without any kind of mistake. You know,
this like the conversation.
So now it's not disassociated. It's an illusion. Okay, what's the difference between an illusion and a
I don't think it's an illusion because there is no.
And by the way, calling things like books on the table illusion is like extremely unintuitive, right? So that's going to violate any first principle that you think leads to idealism.
I mean, every individual can separately exist, but also it can exist in that common consciousness that they are sharing together in some moments. It's they are tapping into that universal consciousness, and they are acting like one. We lost that. I mean, as human beings.
Alex, do you know what Evil is saying? He's saying that the hard problem of consciousness is a semantic problem. It has to do with like how we phrase things, how we define things.
No. I'm saying the semantic thing explains why there seems to be a hard problem. That's what I'm saying. Just like it does on your view.
It's a semantic problem.
We're just going to keep going in circles because
look, here's the question. I thought you were talking about like books were not dissociated. I thought you were saying that. Now you're saying no, they're illusions. Okay, here's the question. What makes something an illusion and something disassociated, like such that there's a first-person experience? On your view, what's the mechanism for the explanation?
Only thing that's not an illusion is consciousness itself. Everything else is an illusion.
Okay, what is it about the illusions that make them illusions and then consciousness that are conscious?
It's the process of disassociation.
What is fundamental?
What is the process of dissociation?
So you're asking the question: what is the difference between the experienced and the experiencer?
The incarnation is the.
Wait. Let me respond, please.
Okay.
Let me respond. So, here's the deal. I don't have to show a mechanism. What I have to show is that I could, in principle, explain it mind to mind. You have to show a mechanism because you have to go from matter to mind.
Okay,
There's a big difference here.
Gotcha. So now you're abandoning. You were saying there was a mechanism. Now you're saying there actually isn't.
I mean, the mechanism is disassociation, but I can't like definitively.
Okay, and then why can't I say the mechanism is just embryology, physical to physical, one type of physical thing to another type of physical things? When you turn
because of the way you define physical, the way you define physical does not encompass the experience.
That begs the question
Qualities
against the
cannot be
physicals.
reduced to quantities. That's why, bro.
That just begs the question against the physicals.
No one
Type A would say,
defining
no,
the
actually it
question.
does reduce to it.
This is
Right?
such
The type B
It's
would
a fundamental scientific principle.
I've solved the hard
I
problem.
can't. There's too many people talking, bro.
Look, I don't think you guys have like good reasons to be idealists. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Okay, well, bye. I guess I don't know what else to tell you.
There is no physicalist that would define physical as having any conscious or mental property. That's just something you come up with.
Okay, but again,
That's just a
right?
theory
Just
that
like
no one can
nobody axiomatically
Wait.
would ever apply mentalness to books on the table, right?
Yeah, because they would. I would.
Can you please tell me?
That's the first thing you start with.
Can you please tell me how you would, in principle, reduce qualities to quantities and fully capture the experience of red?
So again, if you're a type A, right, it's going to usually be a reductionist. If you're a type B, it's usually going to be a functionalist, but either one works. It's going to be identity versus function.
Doesn't work, dude.
What's the issue? I mean, you can't give the association or
We've gone. All right, we're just going in circles, bro.
I mean, but look, here's the parity. You
We've
can't give
explained. We have
mechanism on
explained
your
how
view.
it's not an explanation.
You haven't done that.
Yes, we have.
All you did is said, look,
Everything else in the universe has
That's a
mechanistic.
different category.
Told you.
Evil.
I don't explain rocket science by watching a rocket. That's what you're doing with identity theory, with type B physicalism.
Okay,
Can
so
I say
why is that?
something?
Saying you explain rocket science by watching the rocket.
Why is that
say
different
something?
when you explain illusion and not illusion? I don't get it.
Alex, sorry, not Alex. Evil. Can you give
the same
a
problem.
definition?
It's
Can
a
you give a
different problem.
definition
No.
of
What is it about non-illusions that make them non-illusions?
It's a different problem, bro.
What makes here's the hard problem of idealism. What is it about the first person experience that makes it a first person experience and not an illusion? What's the answer? How's it different?
Disassociation.
Okay, so then when I say embryology or brain states, how is that a different answer?
Bro, we're just going in circles. I've already.
Yeah, I mean, you can't give an answer. At least I can give a scientific
No,
story.
I gave
right?
you.
Evil, can I ask you? Can you give a definition of physical that incorporates the mental? Like give me a definition of what you
That's
call
contradictive.
physical.
So incorporates the mental. So again, if you're a type B physicalist, you're going to say physical terms like length, width, charge are from the third person. So they're incommensurable with the mental terms like love, warmth, orgasm. I don't know.
No, I'm just asking for a definition. Don't give me an
The
explanation.
definition of
What is
definition of
physical?
what?
What is physical? Just tell me that.
Yeah, these are like the things. So the ostensive definition are going to be like, like brains and stuff like that, or things that are extended in space. Things that have charge, length, width.
I think the explanation of idealism doesn't undermine idealism itself.
Nothing of what you just said have anything to do with the mental.
You were talking about the extension, right? Okay, so physical is just going to be everything that exists, then, right? And it has extension.
Everything that exists is physical, and therefore everything is physical.
Well, it has extension,
It's
right?
circular.
It can be. Well, all right,
circular.
here, let me put it this way: it can be described from a perspective, a third-person perspective, with length, width, blah blah blah. but it can also be described from a first-person experience with like, blue hues and warmth and cold.
But then you just redefine what you mean by it's like us saying, mental is also physical stuff.
Well, I gave you the intention definition, like what we write in our physics books, which underdetermines the ontology. Then I gave you the ontology definition. What else can I say, dude?
Because you end up with the hard
the physical
problem
ontology is bottom basic. What else could I get?
No, what you want to do is to redefine.
Can you define mental?
Wait, so that you will not end up with the hard problem conscious. That's what you're doing.
No, I'm not doing any of that. I'm just answering your question honestly. Can you define mental for me?
Yeah, experience.
Oh, wait, but does everything have experience?
Everything is in experience.
Oh, wait, everything is okay. So the illusion is the illusion experience?
Yes.
Okay, so it's whose experience is it?
What specific illusion are you talking about?
It's the eyes.
But wait, illusion?
So there must be things right in the world that exist that aren't experiencing, right?
No.
No,
okay,
no. Whatever exists has experience.
Okay, so books have experience.
I said whatever exists have experience.
Okay, so books don't exist.
I'm not saying books don't. They exist in experience. So in that sense, they exist.
Okay,
everything that exists is an experience.
Right?
Yeah. So
I don't know if anyone else is having an experience. I don't know if anything else.
Yeah, who cares? I know, dude. It's just like
because I'm experiencing.
So it doesn't matter. So look, I know what experience means from the first-person Cartesian theater, but that's not the type of experience I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ontology of the experience. Give me the definition. You won't be able to say it's irreducible. It's bottom basic.
No, I like how you pivoted because you can't give an ontological definition.
No, I'm saying that nobody can when you talk about the bottom basic ontology.
Yeah,
right?
there's
what
like
can somebody say? It's irreducible.
Really
you're at bottom basic levels.
It goes back to Epicurus.
Wait, can I say something?
So go for it. I won't, because I was earlier.
I just have like a theory about the hard problem of consciousness, and it posits distinct classes of irreducible information-bearing phionic excitations known as like resonant monads. And if you know what monads are, that would be the ontological part. And so that kind of would solve the issue. And so that kind of shows that it's not emergent from material complexity, but are fundamental entities. So they provide a potential physical basis for qualia.
I don't know what
means.
monads are. It sounded like you just said two contradictory things. So can you repeat what you said for me?
Which ones are you talking about? Resonant and monad, the contradictory things?
No, it sounded like you said consciousness has no basis in the physical, and then you said consciousness does have basis in the physical. But maybe I misheard you. Can you just maybe repeat what you said? Okay.
So the theory posits distinct class of irreducible information bearing, and I'll name a word that you guys probably aren't familiar with, phionic. This is basically just describing the fundamental phi field, which is linked to the Golden ratio, but with the fundamental particles, or let's say the gluino, I don't know how to say it.
Gluons?
The supersymmetric version. It's to do with supersymmetry and fermions and leptons, but also to do with the bosons. But that's all based on a phi field, and so the phionic excitations would just be wave functions of that. And so those excitations are known as resonant monads. Yeah. Shall I explain what the definition of a monad is, if you know what resonant means?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll just search it up because I don't want to do it off the top of my head.
I mean, I understand what resonant means.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it relates to consciousness.
I think I understand what that would do, right? Wouldn't that put us in contact with like a higher consciousness?
I mean, the thing is, you can do whatever you want with information. It's not going to become subjective experience. That's just going to be my stance. So we can dig into your theory. I mean, it's kind of derailing a bit, but you can fold information in on itself. You can spin it around in a circle. You can flip it upside down and, whistle a few times. It's still not going to make information or matter become conscious. That's just going to be my stance. Unless you can show, like...
No, it kind of says that it's not emergent, but it interacts. Basically, I can finish it before explaining what a monad is.
So do you
But
regard consciousness as a fundamental property of the universe? Is that what you're saying?
technically, yes.
Okay. Okay.
And so, because it's not emergent from material complexity, they are the
Okay.
But I'll explain what a monad is now.
But Alex, don't we want to finish with Waldo first?
Well, I mean, we're just going to keep going in circles with Waldo, I think, because there's just certain things that we're not.
Yeah, but I would like to discuss his definitions, because it's basically defining physical as third person and also first person, whatever.
That makes no sense. That's linking experience.
Yeah, he's like defining it to include everything.
Yeah, that's what the physical.
If you just say physical is everything that exists, that's obviously
and it all has extension, right?
You can't.
Okay, how does the taste of chocolate?
In principle, it all can be described from the third person with the stuff we write.
What extension does the taste of chocolate have?
The extension, well, it's a neurostate.
Yeah, but what is the extension of the taste of chocolate?
Whatever neurostate is identical.
The neurostate does not fully capture the experience.
It doesn't have an extension.
Yeah, the neurostate isn't experiencing.
What do you think? What do you mean it doesn't have an extension? What doesn't have an extension?
The taste of chocolate, the experience.
So the taste of so the intention is the taste, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we're saying? We're talking about. So the extension is just.
I'm telling you, the experience does not have extension in space.
So
the experience is experience.
Under your
definition, someone else's experience might have extension.
That just begs the question. You guys, I don't think you understand how to give arguments.
No, you're begging the question. You're equating
what's the contradiction? What's the contradiction?
It's not contradictory.
That the experience is extended in space. That's literally contradictory.
It's circular. You are saying
it's my view. I'm not giving you an argument.
You are saying the experience is the brain state. You're just assuming that.
All right, there's two big blunders here. First off, you said it's circular. It can't be circular because I'm not giving an argument. I'm just telling you my view. Second, what's the contradiction?
Let me explain to you how it's circular. You are saying that the experience of chocolate is the brain state. It's like identical to the brain state. That's an assumption. And then you say, that explains it. So it is extension in space because it is the experience of chocolate. So that's how it's circular. I
wasn't giving. I can't be giving a circular reasoning if I'm not giving an argument. I'm just telling you what the view is. You're like, well, it's circular if you say.
You are making an assumption. Your assumption, the assumption you're making.
I haven't told you why I'm a physicalist.
No, listen, you are making the assumption that the brain state is identical to the taste of chocolate. That is an assumption you're making.
It's just the view.
It doesn't matter. It's an assumption you're making.
Okay,
you cannot substantiate that.
If I was trying to give an argument for physicalism, I just said, well,
you cannot substantiate that.
Okay, look, I haven't given an argument.
I could say it's magic. I could say it's fairies.
Dude. Look, I haven't given an argument. So do you agree I can't be using circular reasoning?
Yeah,
it's included in your definition.
No, you can make a proposition.
All definitions are going to be like.
I didn't say it was circular. I said it's begging.
It's analytic.
It's not analytic because the neurostate isn't the experience itself.
I'm telling you what the view is. On the view of physicalism, everything is physical. What's the problem?
Because you can't explain consciousness is basically the problem.
Okay, that's not a definition of physical as an ontology. That's the definition of a physicalist metaphysical.
What is mental in your view? I haven't gotten an answer. What does that mean?
Experience. Yes, you have gotten an answer.
Okay, so it means experience. Okay, now everything is experience. Is that your view? Because everything
is
experience. We told you that already.
All right, look. Everything on idealism, everything is mental. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mental is experience, right?
Yes.
Then everything has experience, right?
No, everything is not the experience.
Okay, that's a contradiction.
No, it's not.
No, because you're not understanding.
No, it's like saying everything in my dream is mental. The stones in my dream is mental, but they're not having experience while I am having an experience.
Well, that wouldn't be a problem. Really. Look, let's go through it one more time. Everything you would believe in is mental, right?
Yeah.
Does mental mean is it semantically equivalent to experience?
I mean, there is something called consciousness without experience. void.
Okay,
so that's
so
the
it can't be
underlying
experienced,
base. But that's not. We cannot capture that with words. Let me just finish. We cannot capture that with words. That's the problem.
Okay, so what's your definition?
Yeah, I mean the best we can do is say.
Oh, you can't give a clear definition, can you?
Yeah, I told you experience.
Okay.
Experience.
Okay. All right. So mental is experience, right? Does everything that exists have experience?
Is inexperience.
Brother, the dream analogy explains this perfectly. It's not that complicated.
No, let's just go through it.
I have a question. I think I see the point.
You guys actually gave a contradiction. Look.
Hey,
No, the dream analogy explains it
is
perfectly.
mental.
Can I reformulate this?
Mental means experience. I asked you if the book on the table is experience. You say no, it's illusion.
The dream analogy,
It's a
bro.
contradiction.
You're just-
The book on the
You're just
table.
completely ignoring the dream analogy.
Imagine it's a dream. Yeah.
Therefore, it's not mental.
the-
You're just
the
completely
physical
ignoring
things
the dream analogy.
Aren't experiencing. It's the dream. Shall I
I know
finish?
that-
Everything is
on your
mental
view-
in a dream, but not everything has experience
Okay,
in the
then
dream.
what does mental mean?
We're going in
Can
circles.
I say
I
something?
know, because you're not
I
giving a
think
definition.
The problem is that I think Waldo is trying to say, and as far as I understand it, is if I am consciousness, then where's the limit of consciousness, and where does materiality come from? Right? If it's not conscious,
Kind of.
If the book on the table isn't conscious,
Bro,
right,
the dream analogy.
itself,
Yeah. Going back to the
Okay,
dream
but, okay, but you
I think
I don't
since
know.
consciousness is
I understand the dream
fundamental, then the rest that follows
Look,
is
I understand the
consciousness.
dream
But it's the
analogy.
opposite. If the fundamental consciousness is in like a dream, then the experience.
That's fine. Look, I understand that
it's
in
a
a
product
dream,
of
the
consciousness.
book in the dream isn't experiencing. I get that. But now I'm asking you for the definition of mental. You said experience.
We've already given.
Yeah, I mean, in the
It's
dream
mental, but it's
analogy,
not having
in the
experience. That's
case
a
of the dream
contradiction.
analogy, we would say that everything is the dream. Okay, mental is the dream in the dream analogy.
Okay, mental is a dream in the dream analogy. So what does mental mean?
In the dream analogy, it means the dream.
Okay, the dream, but that's not a definition. That's an analogy, right?
No, I said in the analogy. If we're using that,
But what's the
then
definition?
it means the dream.
You can keep asking for definitions of other words.
What were you guys doing? You were asking me for the definition of physical.
Yeah, that's
You said
true.
that's not a real definition.
You never gave. You said everything is physical. That's different.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
No,
Just now.
everything is physical is not an
Yeah,
ontological.
dude, you said everything is mental.
Yeah, but we don't have the hard problem of
Yeah,
consciousness.
but now,
Right,
now
yeah.
you're moving to a different question. Okay, we can go back to the heart
but
problem.
No, but the problem is the emergence of physical reality, right?
Like, you guys are jumping around so much. So let's be clear here. When I say at bottom basic, everything is physical. Physical is everything that exists and it has extension and can be described by physical laws, right? That's just as good or maybe even better. Of an
Yeah, we
explanation
pointed
than
out
you
that
gave.
experience does
Right?
not. Have
No,
extension.
you still have the problem.
We're
is the
not talking
problem.
about the problem. I'm talking about the definition.
Experience
Yeah,
does
but
not
we
have.
agree problem.
That we have equivalent, let's just be like charitable. We have equivalent definitions for physical and mental.
No, we don't.
Okay,
No, we
good.
don't.
What's your
Because
definition?
experience under physicalism does not have
What's your
extension.
definition of mental?
You keep shifting the burden.
Oh my
bro.
God, what burden? Dude, you asked me a question, I gave it, now I'm asking you the same question. Why would I only have the burden? What's your
Hold on.
definition of
Never,
mental?
we never finalized this idea or got to the bottom of the idea that we're claiming that experiences do not have extension.
Look, what is the definition of mental? You should just kick me now, man.
You're
Come on.
shifting the burden, bro.
What do you mean shifting the burden? You just asked me a question, I gave you my
Experiences
definition. You
don't
didn't laugh at it.
have
Now I'm asking you the question back. What's the definition of
experiences
mental?
don't have, that's called burden shifting, literally.
It's not burden shifting. There's no burden on me to answer. I gave you the answer. Now you answer my question. You don't have
Okay.
to answer, but there's no burden shifting. That's crazy.
I mean, if you don't want to make any progress, we don't have to.
Dude, you're
experiences
dodging.
don't
This
have
is crazy.
spatial
At least I
extension.
gave a definition that you can understand. You just gave a contradiction. Now you're backing
Listen,
out.
what
We
you are
also
doing,
do so
you are
many
trying to
times.
include everything in your definition so that you do not
You
run up to
include
the hard
okay,
problem.
but you guys,
That's what
you
you're
even
doing.
admitted that you do that.
What?
You
We
said,
don't
yeah,
have the hard
but
problem
when-
of consciousness.
Look, here, I'll give my definition, then you give yours. Physical is everything that exists. It all has extension. And
Yeah,
can all
everything
be
that
described.
exists. I mean, stop right there.
I'm not done.
That's
It's
the
everything
stuff
that
right there.
exists, and it can, in principle, be
Wait,
How do you
Everything
not
that
see the
exists, and
ludicracy
in
in what you're
principle-
saying?
and in principle,
Everything that exists.
dude, and in principle can be described by
That's
the things
crazy,
right
bro.
where physics
Come on,
works and
bro.
has extension. Now, what's
Just
your
stop.
definition?
I can't take you seriously.
What's your
How do you
definition?
explain? Yeah, you said it has
What's
to
your
have
definition, man?
extension.
I don't want to hear anything other than your definition.
Can I just say
Because you're not
hello?
going to answer, and I'm not letting off on this point.
Yeah, yeah.
You can pick me or give me the answer.
There are many things in physical reality that does not have any spatial
What's the
extension.
definition of
all
mental?
the fundamental particles do not have a physical extension in space. So how do you explain that?
What's the definition of mental? Stop derailing.
No. We are.
What's the definition of mental?
We're trying to understand your definition first, okay? So your definition is wrong. Because it doesn't
I gave you it.
Wait,
What's the definition
it doesn't
of mental?
include. Okay, it doesn't include any of the fundamental particles
What
because
is the
they do not have
definition of
extension in
mental?
space.
I've already given you the
I
definition.
am not going to stop asking this question until you start being honest.
Yeah, but why don't you answer my question?
Because I've asked this question 15 minutes ago and you're
And we
dodging.
told you experience. We already
Okay,
told
and then
you.
I showed you that was a contradiction,
Yeah.
right?
Then you
What is
wanted
your
to follow,
definition of
ask a
contradiction?
follow-up. So let me ask you a
Is your
follow-up.
definition a contradiction?
Yeah. Wait, we can go there after we finish with
What
your
is your definition
okay?
of contradiction, dude? I'm
Maybe.
not going to engage with you any further.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna
I
say
said
this point.
maybe. Let's now investigate your
Okay, so your definition is a
Okay, let's
contradiction.
investigate
Okay,
it. Let's investigate it. So you said it has to have spatial extension, and I'm telling you, the fundamental particles that everything is made up of do not have extensions in space, like the photon, for example.
Yeah, okay. Two ways you can answer this is say, by extension, I'm also including point location within like a spatial grid, or I could just say scientific anti-realism, okay?
What do you mean
Let's
point
get back to your
location? Wait.
definition.
Point location, it doesn't have any intrinsic structure. What are you talking about, point? You're just redefining things.
Okay,
You said
so
extension.
that's just what I mean by the term, or I could just take an anti-realist, scientific anti-realist view, at least on stuff like that.
You cannot just change your definition as you go.
I didn't just change the
You have to be
definition,
consistent.
Look, are we in agreement that your definition is contradictory?
No, you're
What
not
exactly
being
are you
consistent.
two talking about? Like, fill us in,
Because
the one that just came in.
when I point out the
Because
problems
it sounds
with
like
your
you guys are just
definition,
talking
you
nonsense,
just-
and it's like, can anybody else talk?
Look, all
Okay.
you're doing is I
And
gave
then
you
you
two
just
ways I could
you
answer
just
your question.
redefine terms.
I gave you two different ways I could answer your
We're
question.
not getting
That means
anywhere.
that your
Let people-
definition
other
has a
people want to
contradiction in
talk.
it.
Where's the
Like,
mute all button?
I mean, I just don't understand what you two are talking about, and everybody's lost. You're like, "Ooh,
This guy's
what?"
based. Look,
Yeah, so we're just gonna either have to make progress right at this moment, or we're gonna have to move.
yeah, I want. Do we agree that
Agree
the
to
definition
disagree is
a
what you need to
contradiction?
do and move on. He's not going to convince you. You're not going to convince him.
Okay,
Do we agree
Mike,
the
thank you for
definition
pointing
has
that
a
out.
contradiction?
I do have a
It's
definition
not
for
pointing it out,
mental.
bro. You
Can I-
two are
can I
going
finish on
at
my
it
point?
like
Do you agree
Guys,
that the
we can't all talk.
definition It's a contradiction.
So what are we talking about? I've already asked
This
once.
guy's hilarious.
We're talking. Yeah, I mean,
Mike, just
we would
wait.
Let the host talk. You're not the host. I need it from the host, not you. Thank you.
we would have to go all the way back to the beginning, and we're just not going to go all the way back. But we're talking about idealism versus physicalism, essentially. That's metaphysical worldviews is what
Can
we're
we get
using.
the concession on the table that the definition is a contradiction?
No,
No.
we're discussing your definition right now.
Oh, you're all right. I'm just gonna leave.
Oh, you're just changing the goalpost.
Well,
You're changing.
We mean changing the
Definition
goal.
of
That's
why are you
not what that
leaving?
means.
You don't need
That's
to
not
leave.
what that means, dude.
I'm telling you, you're changing
Oh
the
my
definition as I give you.
I'm not changing the definition. I just haven't thought
Yes.
of the question you asked me.
No,
It
you
sounds
said,
like you guys
said
are just
it's
arguing for the
spatial.
sake of it.
Look, I
Mike,
just haven't thought of the question you
silent.
asked me, and I gave you two ways I could answer it. I haven't thought this way. Now,
No,
are you
you
going
changed
to
the
be
definition.
honest and
Wait.
agree or disagree that the definition you gave to me
Yeah,
was
this ain't no
contradictory?
disagreement.
You're just
This is
contradicting
you
yourself.
guys
Figure
acting
how
like
it's not.
children.
The definition, Mike,
disagreeing.
you don't need to listen. You don't need to be
You're
here. if
damn
you
right I
like
don't
it.
want to listen to you.
This
then
guy's
go
trolling.
down.
Let's just kick him.
Then go
Go down? Really?
Yeah, no one is forcing you to be here.
Mike is trolling. He's not
Mike
serious.
is trolling. Mike doesn't troll. I'm asking you a question. You're getting offended.
Wait,
Yeah,
no,
but you're just derailing.
Derailing? How am I derailing? You're the one going on with this guy. You're
All
trying to
right,
prove something that
yo,
you
come
can't
on, bro.
prove.
We're not even talking about anything at this point. Come on, guys.
There's
Mike
nothing
is
to talk about
trolling
with these
dude.
guys.
Evil, your definition is circular,
Yeah,
and the other one is
everybody who's
contradictive.
disagreeing with you is trolling. Well, you're trolling. Do you know what trolling
who
means?
just
What
said that?
is
Ryan.
trolling?
Ryan, what'd you
Yes.
say? Ryan, what'd you say?
I said evil's definition is circular, and the other one is contradicted. So
how-
we're not getting anywhere because he's relying on fundamental, right? And with experience, if experience is fundamental, he can't apply that to everything else just because it's existing, right? So that's just circular.
Wait, can you? I have no idea what you're saying, dude. I'm sorry.
Maybe you should learn to listen. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, could you try to like say it in a different way or repeat?
Mike is just trolling, Alex. Just so
I don't, bro.
Yeah.
I have no reason to troll. You two are going at it with each other like you're married, and nobody else can get a fucking word in. It's like,
So Ryan, could you try to explain it a different way?
Yeah, so basically, you're saying that mental, right, by definition, is experience, and therefore, if everything is fundamental,
we
cut
can't
out
hear
the-
you,
I don't
Ryan.
hear anything.
am I blocking my? Okay, if the experience is fundamental, then everything.
Oh, is it just me?
experiencing, because
I can't
everything
hear
is-
him.
I can hear him. Yeah, we can hear him.
Yeah.
I can hear him.
Wait, I'll try like mute so that he can hear.
Yeah, mute and then unmute.
Yeah, can you hear me now, Cosmic?
No, I don't think. Cosmic, drop out and come back.
Yeah.
I don't hear anybody except for host.
After this, can I describe what I was gonna talk about? Remember?
Yeah,
With the
go ahead.
monad. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
We
I'll do that after.
Yeah.
After clarifying, so evil.
I hear
Waldo-
nothing. I don't know if people are speaking. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Can-
well,
can you
you're
just-
gonna have to drop out and come back, I guess.
Okay.
Oh. Do you even know what Evil Waldo was saying? What I understood was he was trying to relay his consciousness onto physical things, and because everything existing is physical, therefore
Right.
then his experience is physical. But that
Right. makes
makes no sense because it would be just circular at that point. And the other explanations are contradictory, but at the same time, they are just theories at this point. We haven't gone deep enough into our consciousness to fully understand, and that's what my theory posits at the same time.
There are a lot of contradictions in physicalism that they don't want to
Yeah.
acknowledge, but they exist nonetheless. So it's very circular. Just to say my definition of physical is everything in existence.
You have,
That's
you have
begging
to
the question.
understand from his
True,
point
true.
of view, bro.
I feel like it makes a lot of sense, and I feel like
An assumption
it is
at the same time. There's no
and
way
I'll
to prove
defend
that.
that.
But I don't know if I should wait for this guy to come back up,
Theories, right?
or I can carry on about the soul monads, because they're called
My
resonant
theory on
monads,
the soul
but
is
technically they are,
So Ryan, you cut
in
out. I
a
didn't understand
philosophical
what
sense, souls.
Ryan, what did you
They
mean by
are
the definition of
not
soul?
You guys ever share the
And
space?
so that's where we don't have any contradictions, and we can.
But
fully
Ryan,
explain
can you tell
our
him
consciousness. But
what was wrong with his
I'll talk
definition?
about the monad, and in philosophy, especially by Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, his core idea was a monad is a simple non-physical substance, often described as a metaphysical point or a primitive soul, right? And so this indivisible point that we have has no parts and cannot be broken down further. And if the monads exist as non-physical, they are units of perception and consciousness, not matter. And so that's where the experience comes in, right? And so especially with your dream analogy, that fits in perfectly with consciousness not being, in matter, but just to the monad. And so they are technically like windowless.
cool and all, but that's
They are
just-
self-contained
How is
and
the
do not
definition I gave?
directly interact or influence each other or anything else. And so it does pre-establish some sort of harmony to explain how the world, operates. But if you have seen, like, especially with the two-split experiment,
oh my god,
there has been some research into how observation affects the results. And so this would also, like, explain that and how
Thank you guys for coming
the
to my
universe
TED Talk.
is synchronized. But I can't lie, this does also at the same time argue for a creator. But with the theory, especially, my monad is a resonant quantum monad, right? So because it's irreducible, information rich, and a conscious excitation of the fundamental five field, you need to be able to understand the five field, which you guys won't know because it's a thing that I came up with in terms of the theory of everything.
Are you going to write a paper on this?
Ryan,
Yeah,
can you just
right
tell me
now-
why my definition is contradictory or problematic or whatever it is?
I don't think I need to do that because I think I stated why it's circular.
Well, I didn't understand it.
He
Could you
didn't
repeat
hear
it?
you. He didn't hear you. I don't.
Everything is physical is an assumption that you can't prove
Okay, but
And
why is the
therefore-
definition problematic is what I'm asking. And
because it's an assumption.
I still don't even know what your definition is.
look, I mean, okay, a definition isn't about like assumptions.
you
It
just
may say, like,
tell me what your definition of physical is.
okay, I will, but let me just say this: like, it's an assumption that may be problematic to hold to a view, but that's not an issue with the definition. The definition I gave is something like, look, it's something. Physical is everything that exists, but I guess I wouldn't put that in the definition itself. It's going to be something that exists, right, with extension or a spatial-temporal grid, right? And in principle, can always be described from the third person with the language we write in our physics, something like that.
Are photons not physical?
Our photons, well, they can be described from our third person.
But they don't
have extensions.
None of the elementary particles do. None of them.
Did you hear what I said? It exists. When I say extension, maybe I should have been more clear. What I mean is like it's in a spatial temporal grid.
Yeah, but your definition, including the first person and third person, literally makes it's just a gap. You have no connection.
Spatial
what's the issue in a spatial temporal grid? What's the issue with
spatial? You're just assuming the space time. Of course, everything exists in space time. If that's your definition, then
especially
everything.
Cartesian space time grid or field can't have that.
Okay, now I give it my definition. I don't think there's a contradiction.
Alex, did you hear
now
what you
just... Are we able to talk about your definition that you have been like dodging?
Wait. Waldo, Alex, did you understand what he just did? He just said everything that exists in space-time, namely everything. He just said everything is physical.
Well, I mean, by that,
that's the biggest circular reasoning ever.
I mean that it exists in a spatial temporal
the question. Your definition is
it's just begging it.
Oh, how a definition can't beg the question. It's just a definition.
Because
you're just saying everything
assumption
as it is.
Begging the question is something that arguments do. A definition can't beg the question.
You are saying everything.
The definition is your argument.
Everything that exists in space is physical. Yeah, I mean, duh.
Okay, yeah, that's just a definition. Can you tell me what your definition of mental is now?
Yeah, I have the same
question so many times. Can we move on from that?
Okay, so how is that different than my view? Wait, I mean, I'm not
everything that exists because it's a stupid definition. It includes everything.
But I'm looking for your real definition. I didn't say that just everything that exists. I said more to it, right?
Okay. Yeah, but then you came back to the fact that everything that exists in space, and you believe that everything that exists in space.
But I said more than that.
I want to give the definition of a circular definition. So a circular definition is a type of definition that uses the terms being defined as part of the description. So if we ask you to define physical and you say everything is physical, that is by definition a circular definition.
No. What I said was everything.
No, you use different words, but you're saying
not only is it circular, but it's also an assumption that you can actually not ground.
When I used the term physical in my definition, I used it from the third person experience. But that's if you say that is circular definition, that's equivocating. Because when I said physical description, I'm not talking about the ontology. I'm just talking about the type of language, the semantics we use. Right? That's
we asked you for your definition, and you said everything in space. Basically, that's your definition.
And then I said, right? I said, right, that it's something in principle can be described from the third person with our physicalist language. Okay, that's something that differentiates it from something you believe, right? You don't think
I have no idea what you just
described from the third person.
So everything is physical if it can be described
by physicalist language. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What is physicalist language?
Like physical laws, right?
Numbers.
Kinematic equations, numbers are. Well, there's a debate of whether or not.
So what say you if experience can't be?
Well, there's a debate whether or not numbers are indispensable for physical laws, but we could assume they are.
So nothing arbitrary, right?
Dude, I'm just going to ignore that. Look, can I get a definition for mental?
See, what most people, not yet. What most people would say is, what is physical?
Look, I'm just going to leave because you guys have been very dishonest for the past 20 minutes. I asked you the definition.
You just don't want the heat on you.
No. I gave you a contradiction, you guys. That's not fair. I've been answering every question in earnest. Look,
I have more questions.
I gave you guys a contradiction, and you guys just brushed it off, and you're just running away. Like you said, I was burden shifting. You said I was.
No, we have answered your questions. You just didn't
like it. That's crazy, dude. You guys are just being dishonest.
We did answer your questions. You just didn't like it.
I answered every question, right? I haven't gotten an answer to whether or not your definition.
What question, Evil, did we not answer?
Yeah.
What question
is your definition you gave earlier a contradiction? Yes or no?
We said no 50,000.
Okay, great. So let's
so how is it not a contradiction? You just don't like
it. Great. Let's go over it. Let's go over it then. Look, when I asked you what mental,
we're not done with yours though. That's the problem.
Oh, we're not done with you, dude.
So it's no longer that we didn't answer.
I don't know what else I can say.
Now you want follow-up.
You won't even give me a chance to ask the question.
Dude, you've been talking about this the whole time. I gave you a contradiction. You just want to say, no, it's not a contradiction and move on. I think that's really dishonest.
Okay. Do you know the definition of circular reasoning and what an assumption
What
is?
you want to do?
Yeah, I know what circular reasoning
move on
is.
from
You guys
your own
are all over the
definition.
place. I am just going to leave if you don't let me explore the contradiction I gave.
You're not exploring the circular definition that you gave.
Okay, all right. No, I did actually. I'll do it again. I'm good faith. I'll put this aside and I'll tell you why it's not circular, and you can respond to that. Okay, is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. It would be a circular definition if you find the term within the definition, right? Now, I did say physical in my definition, but it's not a circular definition because that's an it would be an equivocation. Because when I say physical, when I use physical in the definition, I'm not using the ontological sense. I'm using the semantic sense. That's why it's not circular.
Give your
And then
definition.
the semantics problem.
Yeah, it's things that exist within a spatial temporal grid, have extension or points in a point space, right? Something like that. And then in principle, they can be described from our physicalist language. That's what I think.
It must mean both of those to qualify as physical. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so things that exist spatially and can be described quantitatively.
Yeah, well, physical language, if you want to say quantitatively, sure. I only say like sure because
you said I'm not even
there's a
going to answer
debate
that. We could have
between
got to
the
this assumption.
Platonists and the
conclusion
nominalists
straight
whether or
away.
not you need quantities or numbers in your physicalist theories, but I'm happy to say sure.
So that I believe qualifies as a circular definition because you are using the term physicalist language in there.
Okay, remember what I said for the third time now? That would be an equivocation because physical, when I use it in the definition, I'm just talking about the things we write in our books. That's all.
Right. So everything is physical that can be described by physical language.
Well,
What you're
by
saying.
physical language, I just mean the things that we write in our books.
It doesn't
not
matter.
the ontology.
Everything is physical if it can be described by
because
physical language.
Look, the physical language is just a description. It's not the ontology, right? I'm defining the ontology by being able to use the descriptor that fits the term that it's extending to.
No, I'm gonna look something up so I can articulate it better. I'll be back. Y'all can.
Okay, that's fine. But it's an obvious equivocation. No problem. Like, here's the easier way to think of it. Physical definition is just the description or the intention. The definition itself is about the extension. So to say the physical intention is the extension is an equivocation, even though you use the same term. Like, I could just say, look, I believe I'm a materialist, right? And what I think matter are the things that we use to describe in our physics, are things that can be described with the laws in our physics textbooks. That's clearly not a circular definition.
Yeah, but do you believe the mental, or what we call experience, can be described in physical terms?
Yeah. Now I answered the question that was asked of me. I bent it over backwards and in good faith did. Now can we explore the contradiction
No,
that I gave?
can you answer that question that I just asked?
I just answered the question that he asked me to ask. Now can I ask you my question?
Okay, so you don't want follow-ups. Okay, go ahead.
Dude, that's not fair. I've asked to explore this so many times.
I'm trying to understand you better, and you don't letting me.
Dude, all right. After we understand this, I'm happy to answer any question again, as I have been doing for the past hour. Okay.
Go ahead. What's your question?
Yeah, you're the mental. Like, I'm trying to explain whether or not that was a contradiction. Now, just tell me where I'm wrong here. I asked you what the definition of mental was. You said experience. Right? Experience is the first person qualitative states. Right? The book on the table is an illusion. Right?
I
It is
actually
also
said
mental.
whatever exists in experience. That's
It exists in experience, and it exists,
Yeah.
right? But it doesn't have experience.
exists in experience, yeah.
Right? The book on the table is mental because it exists within experience, but it doesn't have experience. Therefore, mental cannot mean experience.
Yes, it can, because it does exist in the experience of the universal consciousness.
Okay, but I'm asking what mental means.
Yeah, I told you, whatever exists in experience is mental.
Whatever exists within experience is mental. Okay, well, what about the experience itself? It doesn't exist within experience.
It is part of the thing itself.
I thought
It
you
is
thought,
its
okay,
component.
earlier you said there was only one thing, one mind.
Yeah. And that mind, if you want to describe it, is consciousness. And if you ask me what's consciousness, then I would say experience.
Okay, but everything that exists is experience, but I understand now. Now you change the definition. Look, the book. I know the book exists within experience, but what is the total? What is mental? Because the whole experience isn't existing within experience. It is the experience, right? So that doesn't make sense either.
It's whatever exists in experience. What is it that you're not understanding?
Look, the whole experience, the first person state itself doesn't exist within experience. It is the first person state. It is the experience. The book exists within the experience, but not the experience itself.
Yeah, exactly. The book is existing in experience, but it's not having its own experience.
Okay, yeah. So the book exists within experience, is its experience. The experience isn't within experience, it is experience. So there's a contradiction there.
No, we've given you the dream analogy 1,000 times. You just don't like it for some reason.
But I haven't gotten a definition of mental yet. Look, here's the charity here. The best you can say is it has this irreducible quality that can't be further explained. I think that's a perfectly okay answer. Right?
Yeah, that's what we've been telling you.
Oh yeah, but then why isn't it the case that I can't say something about that with physical, even though I've given you more than that?
Because your definition is circular. Because what you're saying is physical is everything that can be described physically. That's what you're saying. You can argue with me if you want to, but that is what you're saying.
Okay, we can go back to that's fine. Now we agree that your definition is just to say, look, it's a semantic primitive or something like that. You can give ostensive definitions like the experience that you have, but I can't give any further. That's totally fine. But look, now what I could just do is say, like, look, physical is just, it's just a third person experience. I can give ostensive definitions, but it's primitive, okay? But I'm going further than that. I'm saying, look, furthermore, you can define it by saying, in principle, it can be described by the terms in our physics books or physical language. Now, the reason why that's not a circular definition is because physical language doesn't have the same meaning. It's not the same thing as physical, the ontology. If you say it has the same meaning, that's an equivocation.
What is physical language?
Physical language are like physical laws, descriptions. Physical language are descriptions. The physical ontology has a different meaning because it's the ontology. They're two different things. Now, of course, descriptions have ontology, but the terms have different meanings.
You cannot use the word physical in the definition, or it's circular.
Okay, if it's not an equivocation, which it is an equivocation.
No, man, you're adding your own.
Okay, look. Is the word ontology, physicalist ontology? When you say philosopher's mind, I'm a physicalist. Is it that the same thing as what
it still implies it?
Is that the same thing as what a dualist says when he says that thing is physical?
Bro, what you're saying is physical is everything that can be described physically. If that's not circular, I don't know.
You just listen to me. Look, the dualists want to say, look, that's physical, right? When they say physical, they're talking about the language we use to describe the world from the third person. A dualist says that, right? But what they don't mean is what the physicalists of mind mean when they say everything is physical. Therefore, those terms cannot be semantically equivalent. You're equivocating.
I don't think anyone here could put what you are saying in your definition of physical in a sentence. I mean, no one is understanding what...
No, I kind of understand it, but it's just a matter of semantics.
It is a matter of semantics. That's why we're talking about semantics. You're saying I'm giving a circular definition. That is semantics.
It's a circular definition in terms of what this physicalist language is actually including.
Yeah, it can only be circular if I meet... So look. If I say a bank is a thing by the bank, right? And by bank, I mean the thing where you put money into. Here's the perfect analogy. You'll understand. Look, if I say, what is a bank?
I understand. But in terms of the language that you're using with the physicalist language, what does it encompass? If it's just physical things, then that is a circular reasoning.
Okay, again, circular reasoning.
Circular definition.
Okay, again, you didn't hear the analogy. Okay. If I define a bank, for some reason, all TD banks are by, rivers, okay? If I say a bank is a building by banks.
I know it's a semantics problem.
You won't say that's a circular definition because you understand the second term within the definition is not the same thing as the definition.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying you guys are doing. Because within
directly
the
equivalent
physical,
is what we're saying.
which is the ontology, I'm including physical, the description.
Yeah, but if we're describing ontology as a physical thing...
by saying physicalist language, and then when we asked you what you mean by that, you said, whatever is explained by physics.
Okay, I don't think you understand. Look, when I say physical language, I'm not talking about the ontology. I'm talking about the description. That meaning.
You're saying the ontology is described by the description.
This is so simple. This is so simple. Everybody
ontology is described by the description.
This is so simple. The dualist believes the dualist and the idealist believe.
Dude, this is painful.
It's as simple as this.
Is everything ontology? Agree.
Can you tell me if I'm wrong? Waldo?
I'm just going to leave.
Are you saying physical is what can be described by physicalist language?
That is a part of the definition, yes.
Okay, so I'm not wrong.
It's not circular because physical, the definition is about the ontology.
Okay, if everything ontological can be described by physics, then
They have
it's circular
different.
definition.
Dude, let me. The dualist David Chalmers understands this. He thinks physicalist language is a thing. He thinks it's physical, right? But he is not a physicalist ontologically. He's a dualist. Okay, so those two terms cannot mean the same thing. They're just polysemics.
You're just saying that everything is physical if it can be described by physics. It's literally
that was the second part of my definition. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's circular. I mean, I don't know how
that's not circular because look, the physics is just the description. You probably believe that there are things in the world that can't be described by stuff like kinematic equations at base level. That's why you keep being, that's why you've been, yeah, exactly. So there must be meaning there because you don't think that physical words, right, can describe everything. Okay?
Okay. And how does that make your definition not circular?
Because I'm, for the 10th time, because physicalist language doesn't have the same meaning as physical ontology. Philosophy, the physicalist as a philosophy of mind isn't the same thing as a physicist. They're studying different stuff, possibly. They're different intentions. They may have the same extension, but not necessarily so because they have different intentions, right? Just like Clark Kent and Superman are different intentions, even though they still extend to the same entity. Right? That means Clark Kent and Superman have different meanings.
Waldo, are you saying that experience can be explained by physicalist language?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, tell us.
Okay, you're just going to pivot away from all this now? Okay, fine. Again, because I think identity, right, is the way that we should understand consciousness when we observe the brain, either from the first person or third person, right? Or, well, I'm sorry, when we observe the brain from the third person, we're describing it with physical language.
Yeah, but you're not describing the experience. That's what we asked.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We're describing it from the third person, not from the first person.
Yeah, but you're still describing the brain and not the actual consciousness.
That's
okay. Right. We're not describing the intention because it's just like Clark Kent and Superman, they are incommensurable, but we're describing the extension with the
then you're
just like when I talk about
then...
Clark Kent and Superman, we're both describing the extension, right. Superman. The intentions are different.
That's right.
Are you still going on with your definition of ontological? If everything ontological is physical, then your definition is circular by definition.
Oh my God, dude! I don't know. Like you're just not tracking. Look, ontology doesn't mean physical.
No, we're saying if you're describing everything in physicalist language as ontological things that can be described through physicalist language, right? Or descriptions, then every ontological thing, if it's physical, right, is your circular definition of saying, well, everything exists is physical, and everything ontological is physical.
Look, we went over the definition of circular definition. It's when you have the term.
Yeah, it's an indirect one. It's an indirect one.
It's indirect, yeah. You're trying to weasel out of it, but it's still there.
Dude, again, you're just missing the whole point of the difference between intention and extension.
Not missing the point. I see the point. I don't grant the point.
Okay, look. This is just very basic philosophy from over 100 years ago, okay?
Okay.
Look, people, even though Clark Kent and Superman have identity,
you're funny.
They are identical in the extension. Clark Kent and Superman don't have the same intentions. I mean, same semantics, because they are intentions. They are concepts, okay? That's why when I say physical things, the ontology, are things that can be described from the third person with physical language, I'm not using the same term, right? We're using two different intentions.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, bro.
Your definition relies on theoretical science and intention of knowing, and obviously your extension of description.
Wait, what word am I saying, Ryan? Can you spell for me?
But listen, what you are saying.
Can you spell intention for me, Ryan?
Okay, so basically,
ITEN. What? Finish the word.
Evil Waldo.
Yeah, you don't have to be condescending, bro.
I'm not being. I just want to know. Do you know what word I'm using? ITENSION. Do you know I'm using SION?
But in your description of physicalist language, if intention,
Ryan, I need to know that you know this. Look,
what is intention?
Do you know that the word? I'm gonna spell the word I'm using. Intention. Okay. INTENSION. Is that the word you think I'm using?
You're hilarious. Can you define how you're using it?
Yeah. Okay. You just don't. You think I've been saying intention? Sorry.
So just explain then. So just explain.
Yeah, I have done it. Look, the intention is the concept or the way something's perceived. The extension is the thing out in the world. So there's two intentions, right? Clark Kent and Superman, they're concepts. They're different. They have different meanings. Clark Kent can't fly if Superman can fly. However, the thing out in the world, Kal-El, the alien, they're identical.
We're equivocating.
Yeah, I'm saying you're equivocating because you're using the extension.
You're saying that it's a difference of intention. We're not granting that. That's the problem.
Okay. Well, I don't know what else to say, man. My family's coming home soon. I got to cook.
I don't know.
But if you guys get like a definition that is more substantive than the one that I have, and
you're trying to redefine things so you don't run up to the hard problem of consciousness. That's
what do you mean redefine things? I'm giving you my definition in my worldview.
Yeah, no, but your definition relies on intentionalism, which literally views mental states as inherent.
Oh my god, dude.
Yeah, you're including experience in the definition that you're using of the physical, and you try to avoid the hard problem of consciousness by doing that.
By saying now it's physical because everything that exists is now physical.
Yeah, I really don't. I mean, try to say, Cosmic, say that one. This is the last thing I can do. Like, try to say that again so I can track it and I'll respond.
Yeah, you are including the experience of things in your definition of physical, and you try to thereby avoid the hard problem of consciousness.
I'm trying to include the experience of things in my definition. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, you're trying to include subjective experience in your definition of what's physical. So you're redefining what people usually mean when they use the word physical, and you try to avoid the hard problem by doing that.
He's conflating descriptions with physical things.
Wait, where am I including subjective experience in my definition? I never said anything about experience.
Yes, you said everything is physical, including the experience. That's what you said.
That doesn't mean the semantic content of experience is within the definition. Maybe experience doesn't exist. You can't know from that definition.
Experience doesn't exist. Here we go.
Dude, you just don't understand semantics. Look, that just because experience is something that exists, a definition that includes everything that exists doesn't have the semantic content of experience, obviously.
Yeah, when somebody disagrees with you, it's not automatic that they just don't understand. It could be the possibility that you're also wrong or that you're missing.
It's possible I'm wrong, but I don't think I am, and I'm pretty sure I'm not. So I'm going to act like
none of us think I'm wrong. I know.
Well, Ryan didn't even know the word I was using up until now.
Okay.
Right?
Intention is in the comments. Intention versus intention. T and S. I understand now.
Yeah, now you understand after I told you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I've been wasting my time this whole time. You're not even listening to the analogy.
We're equivocating.
No, because I still understood it.
Difference of intention there. We don't.
You're obviously
how does making a distinction between intention and extension avoid the hard problem of consciousness?
Oh, it doesn't. All I'm talking about is whether or not the definition is circular right now. It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Oh, man, you guys can't track.
Conversation.
None of you guys are tracking. I gotta get it. You guys are not tracking. Just pick one.
Yeah, okay. The whole problem has been revolving around how we understand the world physical and the hard problem of consciousness. Those are the two concepts we've been discussing the whole time. Right. And he's trying to avoid it by redefining physical to include the mental.
Right. So his definition of physical, let's go over his definition again. Things that exist spatially and can be described by physical language. Right. And I would rephrase that as physical is everything that can be described physically. This would be a circular definition. He's saying it's not because there's a difference of intention between physical ontology and physical as a language, like Superman and Clark Kent. I get what he was saying. I just don't grant it.
Yeah. He's in the mental.
I don't know if it's circular, but it doesn't explain anything. That definition. It's like saying that whatever is physical is what physics language describe the world with. That's all he's saying.
Yeah, to me that's circular, but I don't know. We can move on. I don't know.
Shall I carry on?
Yeah?
The monad.
Oh, yeah, what about it?
So, what do you guys understand so far? If I need to start from the start, it's fine.
Not much, to be honest with you. There's a lot going on. I don't quite understand. Okay, where does this idea of the monad originate? Is there an author that I should be thinking about? Or is this your idea? In
philosophy, yes. But in a physical sense, no. But with the term physical, it obviously implies that this would be solving the hard problem of consciousness and the TUV like simultaneously.
Yo, real quick, monads are from Leibniz. That's all.
You're talking about the technological term in computer science, programming, isn't it?
Oh, he dropped out.
Oh, yeah. There's two different versions, but obviously in philosophy,
Cosmic, it looks like you dropped out too, man. I didn't drop you. I don't know what happened. Maybe
yeah.
but go ahead.